There are 7 changes coming to Social Security in 2024. I'm going to give you details about what is going to happen and how this impacts everybody on Social Security and disability benefits. Also, if you're on SNAP benefits, which is food stamps, there is a bill right now going through Congress, a bipartisan bill that is going to allow you to use your food stamps to buy hot food. This is a big deal. I am going to give you an update on this legislation that is coming up in Congress. And then you want to stay till the end of this video. I have updated you guys on this story. 1 million people are at risk of losing Social Security benefits because of overpayment. A CBS story that I reported on has been updated, and now people are losing their homes. Some people are homeless now because of Social Security pursuing them for overpayments. I want to give you an update and, more importantly, tell you what you need to do if you receive one of these letters from the Social Security Administration. So let's get right to it. So this is what I want to cover in terms of updates today. There are 7 major changes that are coming up as soon as January 2024. I want to talk about the Hot Food Act, which I think is the biggest change in food stamps in a long time. If you're on SNAP benefits or you know somebody that is on food stamps, stay tuned to be able to pass this information along to them. And then the biggest story that is going around in Social Security circles, which is this CBS bombshell story that was featured on 60 Minutes. And they've just updated the story again in the last few days, bringing in more people who've been impacted and some very gut-wrenching stories about people being pushed into homelessness, people living in tents because Social Security has been pursuing them for overpayments. That is actually not their fault. So stay tuned for that. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to cover is the updates to Social Security in 2024. Some of you may already have received letters from the Social Security Administration about your benefits increase for 2024. Now, as I have mentioned before, COLA is 3.2% next year. It's going to hit your Social Security and disability benefits starting in January. So your first payment, you should see that increase. Now, a lot of you have been disappointed by the 3.2%. I have an update for you on plans to change the way COLA is calculated so that you can get more benefits each year. So stay tuned for that. Now, let's talk about some of the changes that are coming up and what that means for you. The 3.2% in COLA increase is directly going to impact your benefit payments starting in January. For Social Security, the average benefit increase per month is $59. I know that is not a lot, but that is what it is. And here is what it looks like for everybody else. So for Social Security, your average benefit is going to go from $1,827 to $1,907. SSDI, your average benefit is going to go from $1,483 to $1,537. If you're on supplemental security income, which is SSI, you're going to get a maximum benefit of $914, which was last year, and it's going to grow to $943. And if you're a couple on SSI, your maximum benefit is going to increase from $1,371 to $1,415. I know these are very modest increases, but that is why I want to talk about the change that could possibly come to COLA to make sure that the cost of living adjustment each year reflects the cost that you guys are facing. So let's continue to talk about this. Now, seniors are struggling as a result of this tiny increases in COLA. Since 2020, the average prices in the U.S. have climbed more than 20%. But when you look at Social Security data, the Social Security cost of living adjustment since 2020 has only been 17.8%. So clearly, even just looking at this information from NBC News, you can see that there's a gap between what the actual inflation is and the adjustment that has been made to Social Security benefits. Seniors are experiencing, rising housing costs, with an average older person spending a whopping 49% of their household budget on shelter. So this explains why a lot of seniors have been struggling as a result of these COLA shifts. So President Biden has put forward a 4-part plan to reform Social Security. I have done a whole video on this. Look into our video library. You will see it and you will see the details about that. But one of the things the president's plan includes, which I think is very exciting and is going to solve this COLA problem, is that the current cost of living adjustment is calculated using an index that doesn't really affect seniors. So the current COLA is calculated with the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which is called CPIW. What they do is that each year in the third quarter, they're going to look at goods and services like food, transportation, healthcare, electricities, all these things that urban wage earners and clerical workers spend their money on. And then they're going to look at the list, the same list from this year, compare it to last year. If prices have gone up, then they will adjust COLA for Social Security up. If prices has gone down, they will not do anything because your Social Security benefits cannot go down. If prices remain the same, then nothing happens. But clearly, they are using the wrong index because urban wage earners and clerical workers are not typically the people on Social Security. So why are we using an index for urban wage earners and clerical workers to calculate cost of living adjustment for Social Security beneficiaries? That is where the president's plan comes in. President Biden wants to change that to a new index called the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, CPIE, the E sign for elderly, and it's going to track the spending habits of household with individuals over age 62 and over. That way, when COLA is adjusted, it will truly reflect the costs that affect seniors the most, including prescription drugs, housing, healthcare costs that typically are not factored into or are not at the level of increase that is reflected in this Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. So I'm really, really excited about this. This is something that the president is pushing for 2024. So hopefully this legislation is taken up in a bipartisan way and it passes, and then you can get some relief. The next thing that's going to change in Social Security is the income subject to tax increase. So if you are earning up to $160,200 in 2023, you are supposed to pay Social Security taxes on that income. So any income you make up to that number, you pay Social Security taxes. Each year that goes up is adjusted once the COLA is adjusted. So next year, that income threshold is going to go to $168,600. The next thing that's going to change is the maximum benefit. If you are retiring today on Social Security and you're retiring at your full retirement age, which for some of you is 66 years and change, some of you is 67, then you are going to get a maximum allowable benefit of $3,627 a month, which was 2023, but that's going to go up in 2024 to $3,822. So that's the maximum benefit you can get at full retirement age. It doesn't matter how much money you made. That is the maximum Social Security will pay anybody. So that goes up every year, and next year is going to be $3,822. The fourth thing that's going to change is the substantially gainful employment activity. This affects people on disability benefits. Now, here's what that means. To be eligible for disability, a person must be unable to engage in substantial gainful activity. A person who is earning more than a certain monthly amount is ordinarily considered to be engaging in substantially gainful activity. This amount of monthly earnings is considered SGA. It depends on the nature of the person's work and disability. The Social Security Act specifies a higher SGA for people who are like statutory disabled, like people who are blind. So this amount is very important. So people who are working while on disability benefits, there's a limit, and this is the limit that they use to assess whether you are really disabled or not. And it's $1,550 a month for non-blind and $2,590 for those who are blind. Exceeding this limit may affect your disability benefit, with exception to those who are enrolled in the Trial to Work program, which is a program that helps people on disability to test whether they can work part-time or not. So that is the fourth thing that's going up. The fifth thing is Medicare Part B premiums and deductible for 2024. If you're a senior on Medicare, you're going to see that your Part B premium will go up by, $800 to $174. It will go up by $9.80 from $164.90 to $174.70. So that's the Medicare premium adjustment that will go up. Now, the annual deductible for all Medicare Part B enrollees in 2024 will be $240, an increase of $14 from the deductible of $226 in 2023. So this is important for all people who have Medicare to pay attention to. And this is the deductible table based on income. So, for example, if your benefit, those who file individual taxes, if your income is between $103,000 to $129,000, then your income monthly adjusted amount deductible is $69.90, and your total monthly Part B premium is $244.60, and so forth. So as you can see, the premium ranges from $244.60 to $594 based on your income, and it applies to people who are earning over $103,000, or people who are earning up to $750,000 per couple. And about 8% of beneficiaries pay these income adjusted premiums. So these are solely income adjusted premiums that affect people at a certain income age. Now, another change that's going to happen is that if you're claiming Social Security early before your full retirement age, each year that you work, there is a threshold at which your benefits will begin to be adjusted based on how much money you're making each month. That amount goes up every year. So in 2023, it was $1,770 a month. That's how much you can make or less. If you make that amount or less, then your benefit will not be adjusted. But if you make more than that, then for every $2 in earnings that you go above that, you will lose $1 in benefit. Now, at your full retirement age, that number threshold goes up to $4,960 next year. Means that if you reach your full retirement age, the year that you've been on Social Security, you started claiming before your full retirement age, the year you reach your full retirement age, which is 66 years and change, or 67 years, if you are working up to $4,960 a month, if you cross that threshold, for every $3 in earnings above the limit, you're going to lose $1. So when you reach your full retirement age, the threshold is more generous, and the amount that you lose is also slower. So clearly, if you are receiving Social Security before your full retirement age and you're working, which a lot of people do, you have to pay attention to these thresholds. Then depending on whether you're approaching full retirement age or not, then if you cross a certain threshold, your earnings will be deducted from to accommodate for that. The seventh thing that's going to change is the amount of credit that you need to qualify for Social Security. As you know, Social Security is based on a lifetime of working. You have to earn 40 credits and a minimum of 10 years of working. So 40 credits, 10 years, and each credit is earned quarterly. But you have to make a certain amount of money to be able to qualify for that credit. So the amount is adjusted every year based on COLA. And this year it was $1,640 per quarter to earn one credit. And next year is going to be $1,730 per quarter to earn one single credit. So if you like what you've heard so far, please hit the like button so that this video will be shown to more people. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel. It really helps us grow this channel. So now let's get to the biggest story I think has happened with food stamps program in a long time, which is the Hot Food Act that is going through Congress right now. This is a bipartisan legislation, and here's what's happening. So U.S. Senator from Colorado, Michael Bennet, introduced the Hot Food Act to allow low-income, disabled, and elderly SNAP recipients, pretty much everybody on food stamps, to be able to use their food stamps benefit to buy hot food. As you may know, currently you cannot use your SNAP benefits, your food stamps, to buy hot food at the premises that you can eat. You have to buy food that you can take home and eat. So that has become a problem because there are a lot of people who don't have the time to cook, who are working multiple jobs, who don't have a kitchen space to cook, who don't have access to be able to do that, people who are homeless, people who are elderly, who don't have the capacity in terms to be able to make their own meals. And so being able to buy hot food is a very, very critical help. And so the senator is presenting this bill that has gained bipartisan support in Congress to be able to move this forward. So I want to talk to you about this. So there are 100 lawmakers that are backing this bill, and it's going to affect the 41 million people that are on food stamps right now. And there's a lot of buzz around this. So I want to read you a press release from some of the people who are supporting this bill and the reasoning behind this. So Congresswoman Grace Meng from New York released a press release with a lot of the co-sponsors for this legislation and some big organizations that are helping with food, helping people fight hunger, that are also backing this legislation. So I'm going to read you some of this to give you a good idea of the support that this legislation has. So Representative Ming is saying this: families throughout America rely on SNAP benefits to make sure they have enough food for their children. Restricting a working mom by only allowing her to buy frozen rotisserie chicken, but not a prepared one, a hot prepared one, is nonsensical and wrong. And then she goes on to say the Hot Foods Act simply removes the prohibition from purchasing hot foods in SNAP. This reform will allow recipients the flexibility they need to provide the most nutritious meal possible to their family. I look forward to streamlining this program for the millions, more than 1 million SNAP recipients across the United States. Millions in the United States rely on SNAP to supplement their purchase of healthy and nutritious food, and those families deserve greater flexibility with how they are able to utilize their benefit. And this is Representative Fitzpatrick, who is also a co-sponsor of this bill. As I mentioned, this is a bipartisan effort, so it's getting a lot of momentum. This is Representative Garbarino, and this is what he has to say. Right now, a working mom struggling to feed her family is permitted to purchase a cold sandwich for her kids using SNAP, but prohibited from buying soup or rotisserie chicken to ensure they get a hot meal. Then Representative Spanberger of Virginia has this to say: right now, working families in Virginia can't use their SNAP benefits to buy warm chicken or prepared soup from a grocery store. This means a single parent on their way home from work can swing by the grocery store and pick up rotisserie chicken using SNAP benefits. And then these are some of the organizations that are backing this legislation and what they have to say. The president of the First Focus Campaign for Children deserve access to nutritious food without unnecessary stipulations or arbitrary barriers. Allowing SNAP recipients to purchase hot food allows parents who may be working multiple jobs or experiencing housing insecurity to provide hot and nutritious meals that their children need. And then this is from Feeding America, which is one of the biggest food banks in the country. Feeding America supports the Hot Food Act, which will give people the option to use their SNAP benefits to purchase hot and prepared food. This important change would allow or provide additional flexibility for families, seniors, and people with disabilities to choose the foods at the grocery stores that best meets their dietary needs. So as you can see, there's a lot of common sense around this legislation. And finally, the CEO of City Harvest in New York City: regardless of income, all families should be allowed to use their grocery budgets to access the food they need and want in a desirable and usable form. With so many families struggling to find time to prepare meals or navigate limited kitchen space, the Hot Foods in SNAP Act will help more our New York City neighborhoods put dinner on the table and make food assistance more equitable. So, as you may know, there are several restrictions on what you can use your SNAP benefits to purchase, and one of them is that you cannot use it to buy hot food. So this is trying to change that and give people more access and flexibility. But some of you may not know this, but there is a program called the Restaurant Meals Program. It's a limited program because states have to opt in. It's the only program that allows people to use their SNAP or EBT or food stamps to buy food at restaurants. This is just restaurants, select restaurants that are approved to do this. It is limited in 9 states, and even in some states, it's only limited to some counties. So these are the 9 states that are opted into the Restaurant Meals Program. The Restaurant Meals Program is for the elderly. So let me give you some information about that. It's for people who are 60 or over, people who have a disability, or people who are homeless, or a spouse of anybody that is approved for the program. But as I said, states have to opt in. It's been around for a while, and only 9 states have opted to do this. So you can see it's not something that states are really interested in offering, perhaps because of the administrative cost. So having this Hot Food Act be implemented nationally is a much better program than states having to opt in into something like the Restaurant Meals Program. But currently, the Restaurant Meals Program is in Arizona, Maryland, New York, California, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Virginia, Michigan, and Illinois. And in some states, it's only in specific counties. So, for example, in Illinois, it's in Cook and Franklin counties only right now. and in Rhode Island is only in Providence and Washington counties right now. So if your state is participating in a restaurant meal program, you can take advantage, but you have to be 60 or over. You have to be disabled, or you have to be homeless in order to qualify. So the Hot Food Act, it's the same idea here, but it allows you to use your benefits at grocery store to buy hot prepared food, and it's going to apply to everybody on food stamps. So here's what Senator Bennett had to say about this and the reason behind what he's trying to say. So in his press release, he's saying that of the more than 42 million people on food stamps, almost 70% of the participants are children, elderly, or people with disabilities. The ability to purchase hot food or hot meals ready for immediate consumption will provide enormous flexibility to those who rely on this program to supplement their nutrition. So you can see 70% of food stamp beneficiaries are in vulnerable populations. So the problem is, why are we not allowing them to use food stamps to buy hot food? Too many individuals struggle to make ends meet and miss out on nutrition they need because they lack access to a kitchen or because they have difficulty preparing their own meals. A lot of seniors do. A lot of people on disability have difficulty preparing their own meals. So the Hot Food Act will go a long way in closing this gap by allowing SNAP beneficiaries and households to conveniently purchase hot foods at grocery stores. So this is a bipartisan legislation. It's part of the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill is a big legislation that includes all the nutrition programs like food stamps, WIC, and school lunch programs. It is authorized every 5 years. The last time it was authorized was 2018. So it's due for another reauthorization, which is coming up. It's supposed to be done at the end of this year, but Congress hasn't done that yet. It's probably going to happen early next year. But this Hot Food Act is part of that Farm Bill. So we will keep you updated. There's a bipartisan broad support for this. So I think that it has a very high chance. We'll keep you updated on what happens. But this is very exciting for SNAP beneficiaries. So that is all I have. What do you think about the Hot Food Act? Do you know somebody that is on SNAP benefits? Are you yourself on food stamps? And will this help you be able to purchase food that you desire? Food that would this be helpful to you? Will this cause you to change your food grocery habits? Let me know in the comment section. We want to hear from you because they are paying attention, and what you guys have to say is also important. So give me some feedback on what you think about the Hot Food Act. So lastly, I want to talk about this 60-minute story. I have mentioned it before, but I'm getting a lot of updates because 60 Minutes CBS did an update on this story. But this is the biggest story, I think, in Social Security this year. The fact that 1 million people are going to get letters of overpayment, and the Social Security Administration is getting very aggressive in trying to get the money back. And this is pushing people into homelessness and, people losing property, people losing their benefits, people losing employment. So let's look at the story. So as we know, over 71 million people are on Social Security. 1 million each year receive a letter from the administration about overpayments. Now let's go back to the title of this whole piece. Anderson Cooper did an excellent job on putting on this story, and the title pretty much explains what is happening. Our mistake is your responsibility. Essentially, the Social Security Administration is saying if they mess up, it's your job, it's your fault. And it's your fault to clean it up. And they will hold you accountable for mistakes that they made because you have to stay on top of it to make sure that the money that you are getting is correct. Even though they are the Social Security Administration, if they send you money that is more than you deserve, it's your fault and you have to pay them back. So let's get into the story so that you understand what I'm saying. So 60 Minutes featured 3 stories in the episode, and the first one is Becky and Steven sword. This is crazy, and here are the details. So this couple lived in Chicago, and they received a letter from the Social Security Administration asking them to pay $51,887 in overpayments, and they had 30 days to pay it back. And why is this happening? Well, it turns out that the husband, Steven, was ill and got on disability benefits. And he was also working. And as you know, as I mentioned before, when you're on disability, you're allowed to work. There's programs that you can try to see if you can work part-time. The government encourages you to do that. And so he got on that program, and when you're on disability and you're working, just like Social Security before your full retirement age, you have to report your earnings to the Social Security Administration so that your disability benefits will be adjusted each month. And the SWORD said they've been doing that. They have receipts of all the communication they had with the Social Security Administration. But for some reason, his benefits were not adjusted. And then one day they received a letter. They owe $51,000. And they have 30 days to pay it. I'm going to tell you what to do, the three options that you have if you get hit with one of these letters, because it's really, really serious. And as you will see from everything I report today, it is a growing problem. So they got this letter, and it caused them a lot of stress because all of a sudden they are in debt, huge amount of debt to the Social Security Administration, and they are at risk. They thought they were going to lose their home, and they had only saved $61,000 for retirement, and they tried to appeal this to the Social Security Administration. It was rejected. They filed for a waiver. A waiver essentially means that they are asking the Social Security Administration to forgive the debt. That was also rejected. So what ended up happening is that they were about to give that $61,000 in retirement savings that they have to the Social Security Administration to make this go away. And I have an update on what happened here, so stay tuned. The second story is even more crazy because it is of Jean, and her story is what a lot of people have been experiencing on Social Security benefits with overpayments. So when she got on Social Security benefits, she's paid into the system, she retired, and she started claiming benefits 6 years ago. Now, when she started claiming benefits, the Social Security Administration started sending her money and say, okay, this is what you are due. This is your Social Security benefits. And she was receiving an amount for 4 years. And then 4 years into receiving Social Security benefits, the Social Security Administration figured that they'd made a mistake. And so they sent her a bill for $72,000 because they said they made a mistake in calculating how much benefit she was entitled to. So after 4 years, they cut off her benefits completely. And for the last 2 years, she hasn't received a dime in Social Security benefits. And they are using her money, the money she's due every month, to repay the $72,000 bill that she has. Again, they appealed. It was denied. They filed for a waiver. It was denied. And so that is her story. I'll give you an update shortly. And then this is probably the most insane of all the stories. This is the story of Roy Farmer. So when he was a child, he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So he got on, the parents got on disability benefits for him so that they can take care of him. At age 11, the Social Security Administration made a determination that he's no longer disabled, so they stopped his benefits, which they're allowed to do, which is fine because the Social Security Administration reviews disability beneficiaries periodically to make sure that your condition is still there, that you're still disabled or considered disabled according to Social Security definitions. And he did not qualify at age 11, so they stopped his benefits, which is fine. But what happened next is what's crazy. So, he's in his 20s now. He's working, and then he received a bill for $4,920 from the Social Security Administration saying that when he was 11, they overpaid him. They overpaid his mom $4,900 more than she should have received to take care of him. His mom has since passed away, but they are sending him, the adults, the bill because according to the Social Security Administration, he is working and they think he can pay it. I'm just reporting what 60 Minutes has been covering. So this is real. This is what's happening to people, and this is crazy. So 60 Minutes updated their story a few days ago. As you can see, this is December 20th, and the headline again is, this is CBS News, which owns 60 Minutes. The headline is again very, 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 very touching, and you won't believe what is happening to people with overpayments. This person say, I am just waiting to die. Social Security clawbacks drive some into homelessness. So what is this story about? I want to give you an update on that. So this is a story of Dennis Woods, who is a 51-year-old woman, resident of Georgia. She became homeless after her disability benefits were cut off due to an alleged overpayment of $58,000 by the Social Security Administration. Now, Social Security overpayment has been something that is affecting millions, including Woods. These actions have led to significant debt for people who are at least able to pay. Now, here's the crazy thing about Social Security sending people these kinds of bills. When you are on disability benefits, you can only have, as an individual, $2,000 in resources, assets. So you can't even have more than $2,000 in your bank account. Otherwise, you're going to lose your benefit. So when they find out that they've overpaid you, they are okay with sending you a bill for $58,000, even though they know by law you cannot have more than $2,000 in your account. And I don't know how they think you are going to be able to pay this, where you're going to get the money from to pay $58,000 when you are not legally allowed to have more than $2,000 in your account because you're disabled or on disability. So her story, this is what happened. So she has lupus and congestive heart failure and struggles to walk, but she started working part-time after her benefits were rescinded. She said she makes $14 an hour transporting railroad crew members in her 2015 Chevy Equinox between Savannah and Jacksonville, Florida, when she can get assignments and her health allows it. So they've taken her disability benefits away, somebody that actually needs it, and now she has to resort to working part-time when she can, and her SUV alone costs $386 a month, which is a large portion of how much she's making on her part-time. And without her income, so without the disability or without the SUV, she can't work, and she has to pay $386 for it. So this is her story. My life is just survival now. Sometimes I feel like I'm just waiting to die. Unbelievable. So here's another story. A 64-year-old man in Florida said he could no longer afford rent after his Social Security retirement payments were garnished last year because he allegedly had been overpaid $35,176 in disability benefits. He said he now lives in a tent in the woods. Yeah, you read that right. This is directly from the CBS story I just talked to you about. A 24-year-old Pennsylvania woman living with her mother and young sibling in public housing lost the chance to buy her own home because of an alleged $6,063 overpayment that occurred while she was a child. So this is the same story that Roy Farmer had. Same story. This is happening. And here's what advocates have to say. Social Security overpayments are wreaking havoc in people's lives, said an attorney. They are asking the poorest among us to account for every dollar they get, and that there are rules. Some people can save up for a funeral burial, but not enough to get housing. It is insane. The most impacted by Social Security decisions, including people with disabilities and widows receiving survivor benefits, paint a different picture. They talk about having their benefits terminated without explanation or warning, an appeals process that can drag on for years, and an inability to get answers from the Social Security Administration to even basic questions. So this is happening. This is what experts are saying, that the Social Security Administration lacks accountability. Individuals are not being able to speak to people to get answers to what is happening, why their money is being taken away, and most of the time, appeals and waivers are rarely granted. So here I want to pause and give you 3 things you need to do if you receive one of these letters. Number 1, if you have the money to pay it, you can pay it. As you can see, most people don't. So the next option you have is to file an appeal. An appeal means that you're telling the Social Security Administration that you have a problem with this whole thing and that you want a chance for your case to be heard. And you have to then dig in and figure out what they did wrong and what you are going to use to build your case. And typically you have to go to the Social Security Administration to understand the reasons why They even say you have an overpayment. You want to find out when this started, when they are saying it started, how much they paid you, and why they think this was overpaid. And then get that information, go deep into the Social Security rules to make sure you understand your rights, and then file your appeal. Now, they will tell you in the letter that you can file your appeal in 60 days. But if you file your appeal in 60 days, after 30 days, the law allows the Social Security Administration to start taking your money. So if you want to stop any collection activity before your appeal is made or decided on, you have to file that appeal within 30 days. So 30 days after you receive a letter of overpayment, make sure if you're going to appeal, you file your appeal within the 30 days. That stops them in their tracks from taking anything from your benefits until they've decided or made a decision on your appeal. And then if your appeal is denied, the next option you have is to file for a waiver, which is essentially telling the Social Security Administration that you cannot pay this money, and if they take a portion or all of your benefits, you are going to be in severe distress, financial distress. So you want them to forgive the debt. If they deny that also, then your final only option available is to request a hearing from a Social Security administrative judge. This is a legal proceeding, so be sure to get an attorney to go with you who understands how this works and can put forward the best case to increase your odds of being able to address this in your favor. So those are your options available. If you cannot pay, you can file an appeal. If it's denied, you can file a waiver, or you then if all else fails, then you can request a hearing before a Social Security administrative judge. So experts are saying that Congress needs to put a statute of limitation on the Social Security Administration so that they can't go after people after a certain amount of time. Maybe after a year, they should not be allowed to go back. And also create flexible payment plans that allow people who owe this money to be able to pay it back, but also not have their benefits severely impacted because they need it to live. So this is the overpayment story. Do not ignore it, because the Social Security Administration, as you can see, from 2017 have been progressively trying to get more money back. 2017, they got $2.898 billion in overpayment clawbacks. In 2022, it was $3.354 billion. And now, even with all of this, they still have $21.6 billion left to collect. So a lot of letters are going to be coming out. And that's why I'm recording this, to make sure that when you get the letters, you know exactly what to do and how soon you need to file your appeal if you're going to do that, to make sure that you don't get impacted negatively right away. So those three stories that 60 Minutes covered, after 60 Minutes reached out to the Social Security Administration to make a lot of noise. Remember, I told you all three of them applied for an appeal. It was denied. They applied for a waiver. It was denied. But after 60 Minutes stepped in, the Social Security Administration all of a sudden changed its mind and forgave all three of them, forgave the debt, which is good for the three people. But how about the million people that are about to receive letters every year that they owe overpayment? What is going to happen to them? The Social Security Administration has the power by law to forgive the debt if they think that it's against equity and it's in good conscience. So they have the power to forgive it. But most of the time they don't. Majority of these appeals and waivers are denied. And so when powerful people step in, then things like this happen where the debt is forgiven, even though these people went through the process, appealed, applied for a waiver, it was all rejected. So this is all I have to share with you today. And if you have any questions, let us know in the comment section below. I want to hear your thoughts about these Social Security overpayments and what you think should be done to resolve this, because this is just ongoing and it's going to be a growing problem. If you've been impacted by overpayments, let us know in the comment section. We want to hear from you. As usual, if you like what you hear, please hit the like button. If you are not a subscriber, please subscribe, because it helps us a lot to grow this channel. So until I see you in the next video, thank you for watching.